First contact gone wrong. The massive Vexari warship emerged from the darkness of space like a predator from the depths. Commander Elena Reeves stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien vessel now hovering just beyond Earth's orbital defense grid. Its surface gleamed with an iridescent purple sheen that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Still no response to our hails, Commander," Lieutenant Sato reported, his fingers dancing across the communication console. Elena nodded, her expression remaining neutral despite the cold dread forming in her stomach. "Keep trying all frequencies. Use the first contact protocols we've been developing since the Proxima Centauri expedition." The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, the tension palpable as Earth faced its first confirmed contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. What should have been humanity's greatest moment, a cause for celebration, instead felt like the prelude to disaster. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission," Sato announced, his voice rising with excitement. "They're responding." The main view screen flickered, and the image of the alien ship was replaced by a humanoid figure with gunmetal gray skin stretched tightly over an elongated skull. 4 amber eyes arranged in a diamond pattern stared out from the screen, unblinking and emotionless. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice resonating with an unsettling harmonic undertone. "I am Supreme Commander Calvex of the Vexari Dominion. Your world has been marked for integration into our collective. Resistance is unnecessary and wasteful." Elena stepped forward, straightening her uniform. "This is Commander Elena Reeves of the United Earth Space Force. We welcome peaceful contact with the Vexari Dominion, but we must insist on diplomatic negotiations before any discussion of integration." The alien's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "Negotiations are inefficient. We have studied your species for decades. You are divided, primitive, and vulnerable. Your technology is rudimentary. Your weapons obsolete. Submit now, and the transition will be painless. Resist, and we will demonstrate our power." Before Elena could respond, the alien transmission cut off abruptly. "They're powering weapons," Lieutenant Commander Jackson shouted from the tactical station. "Energy readings are off the charts." Elena's training took over. "Alert Earth Defense Command. Raise shields and prepare evasive maneuvers." The Defiant rocked violently as a beam of blue-white energy lanced out from the Vexari vessel. The ship's shields flared brightly under the assault. "Shield integrity at 42% after just one hit," Jackson reported, his dark face illuminated by the red alert lights. "Get us out of here," Elena ordered. "Full retreat to lunar defense perimeter." As the Defiant pulled away, the Vexari ship turned its attention to Earth's orbital defense platforms. 3 were destroyed in quick succession, erupting into silent, flaming debris. Earth's primitive defenses, or what the aliens believed were their only defenses, were being systematically eliminated. The emergency session of the United Earth Council convened within the hour. Representatives from all nations gathered in the underground complex beneath Geneva, faces grave as they watched footage of the orbital battle. Elena stood at attention before them, having been shuttled to Earth immediately following the encounter. "The Vexari have destroyed 7 orbital platforms and disabled 3 more," General Kazuo Yamamoto reported, his weathered face grim under the harsh lights. "They've established a blockade in high orbit and are demanding Earth's unconditional surrender within 24 hours. President Isabel Vargas of the United Earth government rose from her seat. At 62, she carried herself with the determination that had helped unite a fractious planet during her 8-year tenure. "Commander Reeves, in your assessment, can we negotiate with these beings?" she asked. Elena shook her head. "Madam President, their communication indicated no interest in diplomacy. They view us as primitive and have already demonstrated their willingness to attack without provocation." "Then we have no choice," President Vargas said, looking to General Yamamoto. "Activate Project Prometheus." A murmur spread through the council chamber. Project Prometheus had been Earth's best-kept secret for nearly 3 decades, a contingency plan for exactly this scenario. "Are you certain, Madam President?" asked the representative from the African Union. "Once revealed, we cannot go back." President Vargas' expression hardened. "They gave us no choice when they opened fire. They believe us weak and divided. It's time to show them how wrong they are." Within hours, hidden installations across the planet and throughout the solar system hummed to life. In underground bunkers beneath every continent, stealth bases on Mars and Europa, and concealed asteroid facilities, humanity's real defenses began to power up. For 30 years, Earth had presented a deliberately primitive face to the stars, while developing technologies in secret that even the Vexori would find surprising. Dr. Aisha Bashir, head of the Prometheus project, stood in the command center beneath the Sahara Desert, watching as systems came online across her display. Her life's work was about to be put to the test. "Quantum shields at 85% capacity and rising," reported her chief engineer. "Phased plasma arrays charged and ready. Ghost fleet standing by for deployment." Aisha nodded, feeling the weight of humanity's fate on her shoulders. "Begin final preparations. When the Vexori come for their answer, we'll be ready to give them one they don't expect." In orbit, the Vexori launched their second attack 12 hours later, earlier than their ultimatum had specified. Their massive warship deployed smaller attack vessels that descended toward major population centers: New York, Beijing, Moscow, Lagos, and Rio de Janeiro, clearly intending to demonstrate their power before the deadline expired. As the alien craft entered the atmosphere, Supreme Commander Calvex watched from the bridge of his vessel, satisfaction evident in his rigid posture. The humans would learn their place, as had dozens of species before them. Attack vessels approaching targets, his second-in-command reported. No significant defensive measures detected. "Commence limited strike," Calvex ordered. "Destroy their leadership facilities, but minimize civilian casualties. We need their infrastructure intact." The lead attack vessel deployed over New York City, its weapon systems powering up to deliver a precision strike against the United Nations headquarters. Citizens below pointed and fled in panic as the alien ship cast its shadow over Manhattan. Then, without warning, the air above the city shimmered and solidified into a transparent dome of energy. The Vexari weapons fire struck the shield and dissipated harmlessly across its surface. Similar scenes played out over each targeted city as quantum shields, technology the Vexori believed centuries beyond human capability, activated simultaneously worldwide. On the Vexari command ship, alarms blared. "Impossible," Calvex hissed, his 4 eyes widening in shock. "Our intelligence indicated no such defensive capabilities." Before he could issue new orders, the space around his fleet warped and distorted. From apparent emptiness, dozens of sleek human vessels materialized. The Ghost Fleet, equipped with advanced stealth technology and quantum phase weapons. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force," came the transmission across all frequencies. "You have committed unprovoked acts of aggression against Earth. You were warned. You chose war. Now you face the consequences." The human vessels opened fire with weapons that bypassed Vexari shields, striking with surgical precision. Not designed to kill, but to disable and contain. The message was clear. Humanity was not the primitive species the Vexari had expected to conquer. Elena Reeves, now aboard the UES Retribution, the flagship of humanity's hidden fleet, watched as the Vexari attack vessels were systematically disabled and captured. The Supreme Commander's ship attempted to retreat, but found itself surrounded by Earth's forces. "Open a channel," Elena ordered. When Calvex appeared on screen, his composure had vanished. "Supreme Commander," she said calmly, "it seems your intelligence about Earth was incomplete. We have a message for you and your dominion. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war. Your choice." For the first time in the history of the Vexari Dominion, they had miscalculated. They had sought an easy conquest and found instead a species that had anticipated their coming, a species that had prepared and waited. The battle for Earth was over almost before it began, but the conflict between humanity and the Vexari had only just started. As the Vexari command ship was secured by boarding parties, Elena knew that humanity had survived its first interstellar challenge. But the galaxy was vast, and the Vexari dominion spanned dozens of star systems. Earth's warning had been delivered, but whether it would be heeded remained to be seen. The counterattack. 6 months after the failed Vexari invasion, humanity had transformed. The revelation of advanced technology, hidden for decades, changed everything, from daily life to global politics. The Ghost Fleet, once Earth's greatest secret, now patrolled openly throughout the solar system, a visible reminder of humanity's unexpected strength. Within the captured Vexari command ship, now converted into a joint research and diplomatic facility orbiting Mars, Elena Reeves walked alongside Dr. Aisha Busher. Through the viewport, the red planet loomed large, its surface now dotted with expanded human colonies and defense installations. The Vexari communication networks are extensive, Dr. Bashir explained, her tablet displaying complex star charts. Thanks to their quantum entanglement technology, we now have real-time intelligence from across their territory. Elena studied the display with a soldier's eye. And what are they saying about us? They're in disarray, Aisha replied with a hint of satisfaction. The Dominion has never suffered a defeat. Their entire civilization is built on the myth of their invincibility. Supreme Commander Calvex's failure has sparked what appears to be a political crisis within their hierarchy. They entered a secure chamber where Calvex himself was confined, not as a prisoner, but as what Earth's leadership had carefully termed a diplomatic guest. The Vexari commander stood as they entered, his tall frame rigid with barely contained fury. "Commander Reeves," he acknowledged stiffly, "have you come to gloat over your unexpected victory?" Elena shook her head. "I've come to offer you a choice, Supreme Commander, one that might save countless lives, both human and Vexari." Calvex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Elena had learned indicated skepticism. "What choice could you possibly offer me?" "Help us understand your people," Elena said simply. "Your empire spans 27 star systems. You've subjugated 18 other species. You could have chosen peaceful contact and exchange, yet you chose domination. We want to understand why." The alien remained silent for a long moment, then spoke with reluctant respect. "Your species confounds me, Commander. You developed technologies in secret that rival our own, yet you didn't use them to expand beyond your solar system. You prepared for war while hoping for peace. It is counterintuitive." "That's humanity's paradox," Elena replied. "We prepare for the worst while working toward the best. Now we face a decision of our own, whether to remain defensive or to take action against the Dominion that tried to conquer us." In the weeks that followed, information gleaned from Calvex and the captured Vexari database revealed a disturbing picture. The Dominion, while technologically advanced, was fundamentally unstable, held together by fear and military might rather than cooperation. The 18 subjugated species lived under varying degrees of oppression, providing resources and labor to their Vexari overlords. The United Earth Council debated their response intensely. Some advocated for a defensive posture, securing the solar system and nothing more. Others pushed for immediate action to liberate the oppressed species and dismantle the Dominion. President Vargas finally called for a vote. "We have been given an opportunity and a responsibility," she told the assembled representatives. "The Vexari expected us to be primitive and helpless. They found us prepared and capable. Now we must decide. Do we use our strength merely to protect ourselves, or do we extend it to those who cannot protect themselves?" The vote was close, but the decision was made. Operation Lighthouse would commence, a mission to contact the subjugated species and offer them assistance against their Vexari rulers. 3 months later, Elena stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon. the most advanced vessel in Earth's fleet. Around her, a mixed crew of humans and representatives from the first liberated world, the amphibious Nerethi, worked in harmony. Their ship was approaching the Lysaria system, home to the Alteri, a species that had been under Vexari control for over a century. "Exiting quantum space in 3, 2, 1, announced the pilot. The starfield stretched and then snapped back to normal as the ship emerged from faster-than-light travel. The Horizon immediately activated its stealth systems, becoming virtually undetectable to Vexari sensors. 6 Vexari warships in orbit around the third planet, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, now Elena's executive officer. Heavy industrial activity on the surface. The Alteri homeworld appears to be primarily used for mineral extraction." Elena nodded grimly. "Begin transmission on the frequency Dr. Bashir identified from the Vexari archives. Let's see if the Alteri are willing to listen." The message was simple but powerful, evidence of the Vexari defeat at Earth, an offer of alliance, and a plan for coordinated resistance. The response came within hours. The Alteri, a crystalline species whose bodies refracted light in complex patterns, had maintained a secret resistance movement for decades. With Earth's help, they were ready to rise up against their oppressors. The plan was executed with precision. Using technology derived from Project Prometheus, Earth provided the Alteri resistance with shield generators and phase-shift weapons that the Vexari couldn't counter. The Horizon and 3 other human vessels engaged the Vexari fleet, drawing them away from the planet, while Alteri resistance fighters disabled the ground-based control centers. Within days, Lysaria was free for the first time in generations. Similar operations followed across the Dominion, as world after world rose up against their oppressors with Earth's support. It wasn't a traditional war. Humanity didn't seek to conquer or control, but rather a campaign of liberation. 4 months into Operation Lighthouse, the UES Horizon intercepted an unusual transmission, a request for parley from the Vexari High Council itself. The message was conveyed not with the usual arrogance, but with a tone that bordered on desperation. Elena, now Admiral Reeves following her successful command of the Liberation Fleet, met with President Vargas and the Earth Council to discuss the request. "They're losing control of their empire," Elena explained, displaying the intelligence gathered from recently liberated worlds. 7 major systems have declared independence. Their fleet is stretched thin trying to maintain control of their remaining territory. For the first time in their history, the Vexari are facing the possibility of defeat. President Vargas considered this information carefully. "What do they want from us?" "A ceasefire," Elena replied, "and negotiations for a permanent peace." The meeting with the Vexari delegation took place on neutral ground, an uninhabited moon orbiting a gas giant at the edge of what had once been Dominion space. Elena led the human contingent, accompanied by representatives from the liberated species. The Vexari High Counselor, a female named Tevenar, whose position was equivalent to their head of state, appeared visibly shocked at the diverse coalition facing her. "You have done the impossible," she stated without preamble. "No species has ever successfully challenged the Dominion. Now you offer alliance to our former subjects and turn them against us." "We offered them a choice," Elena corrected. "Something you never did. They chose freedom." The negotiations lasted for days. The Vexari, pragmatic despite their ideology of superiority, recognized that their empire was crumbling. Eventually, terms were agreed upon. The Dominion would withdraw from all contested systems, recognize the independence of any world that chose it, and commit to a non-aggression pact with Earth and its allies. In return, humanity would share certain technologies, particularly in medicine and sustainable energy, and establish diplomatic relations with the Vexari homeworlds. When Elena returned to Earth, she found a changed world waiting. Humanity, once divided by national interests, had united in purpose. The technology hidden for defense was now being adapted for peaceful purposes, accelerating development across all sectors. and Earth itself had become a beacon for other species seeking alliance and protection. 1 year to the day after the failed invasion, Alina stood in the newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Center in Geneva. Around her were diplomats and representatives from 23 species, former subjects of the Vexari, independent worlds that had observed the conflict from afar, and even a small contingent of progressive Vexari who sought a new relationship with the galactic community. President Vargas addressed the assembly, her words broadcast across Earth and to allied worlds throughout former Dominion space. When the Vexari arrived at our doorstep, they expected to find a primitive species ready for conquest. Instead, they discovered a fundamental truth about humanity. We are at our strongest when challenged, at our most unified when threatened, and at our most ingenious when faced with adversity. She gestured to the diverse gathering before her. Today, we established the Galactic Concordat, not an empire like the Dominion, but a voluntary association of free worlds committed to mutual defense, scientific exchange, and peaceful coexistence. Earth does not seek to rule, only to ensure that no species ever faces subjugation again. As the delegates rose in applause, Alina caught the eye of Calvex, the former Supreme Commander who had chosen to join the Progressive Vexari faction. He inclined his head slightly, a gesture of respect that would have been unthinkable a year ago. "You were right, Admiral Reeves," he said quietly as they stood side by side, watching the celebration. "Your species truly is a paradox. You had the power to destroy us, yet you chose a more difficult path." Alina smiled. "That's the message we wanted to send to the galaxy. Not just that we're stronger than you thought, but that strength without wisdom is meaningless. You chose war without understanding who you were fighting. We chose to fight not just for ourselves, but for something greater." Outside, the night sky above Geneva was clear and filled with stars. Those distant lights, once merely objects of human curiosity and speculation, now represented known worlds with names, histories, and peoples, some allies, some neutral, some still potential threats. The galaxy had become both smaller and vastly more complex. Humanity had passed its first great test. They had not merely survived first contact. They had transformed it into an opportunity to forge a better future, not just for Earth, but for countless other worlds. The journey ahead would not be easy, but humanity had proven itself ready for the challenge. The final warning to those who might threaten Earth in the future was clear. Humans might prefer peace, but they would always be prepared for war. And when pushed, they would respond not with mere survival, but with transformation of themselves and the galaxy around them.